Hello and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Complete Morning Guide. I know, right, like what's happening? I'm actually recording again. Well, basically, I've been really ill for the past 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm just not getting any better. So, as you can hear, I'm still quite ill. But I thought it's been too long now. I just got to record. I feel a bit better, but I'm still a bit ill. But yeah, I'm just gonna start recording again. Some more tutorials like this, some more gameplay. And possibly a new animation. Ooh. Yeah, that's a bit stupid. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, what are we doing? Oh yeah, no, I remember now. We're here for another episode of Minecraft Complete Modding Guide. And what we'll be doing is creating a transparent block. So a block such as glass, which is transparent. So there are parts that are filled in, but then the rest of it you can see straight through it, which is amazing. So yeah, we're going to be making a block like that, and it pretty much is just like a one piece, 4 lines of code that does this. Well, technically two lines of code that does this, but then there's other stuff you have to put in order for this block to be officially transparent and not like a normal block. First, we're going to declare the block that will be transparent. Now, before I carry on, I want to apologise if you hear me sniffling like that, or coughing like like that during this video, because like I said, I'm a bit ill, but hopefully soon I'll be better and I can produce videos that haven't got any coughing or sniffing. Shh. Yeah, so we're going to declare the block, and if you watch my block tutorial you know how to do it, but I'll tell you it quickly once again. And what you do is you type in the _class file public static final as like a declaration. So in the main bit you put public static final. So public means you can access it from anywhere, static means you can access from anywhere, public just means you can access it from somewhere, and that's not this class. And then final, it's just there. And then block, because it's a block we're making, and call it something such as blue frame, because I'm making it's like glass but it's actually bars. Yeah, blue bars. Anyway, blue frame equals, and now this is the bit where we put new, and then we're going to write block blue frame. So this class doesn't exist, and we're going to be creating it later. And when we do create it, we'll have it so that stuff inside the brackets will be just the ID. So 150, for example, that was the only thing you need to put into this when I show you how to set up this class here. And then we have to put dot set block name excuse me, and call it something such as blue frame. And that is it, because I'll be showing you how to get the hardness and resistance into this class instead of putting it here, how to get the texture and the material also into this class. So that's our block declared. Next we have to register the block. We have to do this inside this class. So you have to put inside the public void load constructor mod loader dot register block, which is already here. Double click that and change the var 0 to the name of the block here, so blue frame, and end that line with a semicolon. And now the next thing I'm going to do is give this block an inventory name. So mod loader dot add name is the method you want to use, and change var 0 to this. I could just copy and paste, that'll be easier. And then comma, and then var 1 you put speech marks and you type in a name that will show up as the inventory name, so blue frame for example, and then that line with a semicolon. Now we're going to do the recipe, and I just thought I'd speed this video up by copy and pasting the recipe thing that I did earlier. Yeah, but basically what you do is mod loader add recipe, and inside brackets, inside these brackets you put first new item stack, and inside those new brackets you create for that you put blue frame, comma, and then how many. So I put 64. Another comma after that set of brackets, and you put new object, square brackets, this weird thing, and then a close that inside of the main brackets, and then you do your recipe. So this might be a bit all confusing, but like I said, it'd be ideal to watch my block tutorial before you watch this, and in that block tutorial I explain how to do a recipe. That is basically the recipe, and obviously you'll have this code to download in the description so you can have a look at this code. Anyway, so now that's that modern school class file done with our block declared. Now we're going to go into this class, or actually create this class even, and then show you how you can have the texture, the hardness, the resistance, the material, the creative tab, how you can have all of that inside the class to better organize your code, because organized code is just in key when you have like massive classes with loads of code in them. So I've created this block blue frame class, and obviously I've had the package and the public class name of it, and then these two curly brackets, which should have all been auto generated when you created the class. But the first thing we need to do in this is extend. So after public class block blue frame, we need to put extends and then block. So it's going to have all the usual qualities of a block plus the stuff we add / modify. So one main thing you have to have in this class is the main constructor. So it's called public and then the name of the class. So block blue frame, and then you put brackets and then curly brackets. So that's the main constructor, which will these brackets afterwards will hold the stuff that you have to put in here. So when we say new and then this class, whatever we put in here is going to be the parameters we have here, and then anything inside here, that's and then we can say what this parameter is inside of this class, but we can also say what other parameters are. So what basically we're going to say this is var1 or something, and we're going to say the ID, which is var1, and I'll show you how to do that. But then we're going to say the texture is not a variable in here, it's just going to be whatever we want the texture to be, and then the same for the hardness, the resistance, and the creative tab. So the first thing we're going to do is put in the integer for the ID, so that this error will go away, and then add something in this class which will allow that to be the ID. So we put inside these brackets here int and call it something such as par1. So that's what we refer to the ID as in this constructor, as par1. And now here, the first thing we always have to put inside something that extends block, we always have to put inside this constructor super brackets, and then we have to put this, so whatever that is, par1. So that's saying that super, and then par1 will be our ID, and then the second thing has to be the material. So we write material dot, and we choose one such as ground. So to explain this, and semicolon. To explain this in the best way I can possibly explain it, this holds integer par1, which we have to put in if we say new and then this class name. Par1 will be the ID, because if you put super, the first thing will be par1, and the second thing is the material, and we have to have these two things. So basically, copy all this code. This super thing has to be like this, with par1 as the first integer in this bracket, and then the second thing to be the material. And now the next thing I'm going to do is add the texture. So what we put here is underneath here this dot, and then we put dot and then block index in texture, and then we put equals, and then we add our over. So you know when you usually create a block, in my block tutorial I showed you put the modulo add override thing here. We'll put it here instead. So this dot block index in texture equals, and then we put modloader dot add override, var0 being terrain.png, because that's the thing we override, the default blocked texture directory, and we're overriding it with our own directory. So I've got a folder called blue frame, and inside there's going to be a texture called frame.png, which will be our texture for our block sides even. And I'll show you how to make it and basically when you make it transparent, the bits you want transparent in the texture, you leave that that's blank as an alpha channel, and then the code later on will allow those alpha channels to be transparent. But that's basically the texture, and obviously I'll show you how to make the texture later on. And then the next two things I'm going to add is the hardness and the creative tab. So first thing I'm going to put is this dot set hardness, and we change par1 in these brackets that have been auto generated into our hardness as a float, so something such as 1 or something, and then end it with an F, and then a semicolon. So that's hardness. And then the second thing is the creative tab. So we put this dot set creative tab, and we change the stuff inside the brackets to creative tabs dot, and then choose any tab you want to choose. So I'll choose tab block, and then with a semicolon. Next, we're going to add a very, very, very important piece of code, which actually makes the block we have transparent where there's an alpha channel of the in the texture, which I'll talk about later on. So what you need to put here, excuse me, is public boolean, and then we write is lowercase, and then a capital O for opaque, and then cube with a capital C. So is opaque cube, and then two normal brackets. You don't need to put anything in there. And then we put in two curly brackets, and basically a boolean is basically you return either true or false. So we're going to return is opaque cube, return false. So we're going to say, is it an opaque cube? No, it's not going to be an opaque cube, which basically means on the texture where we've coloured stuff in, that will obviously be there, But where we haven't got anything in and it's just the alpha channel, it will be transparent and we can see straight through it, and also light can be let through it as well. Now this next thing we need to add to this class is not a very important one, but it's good to have it as it makes the block more believable that it's transparent. And what it is public boolean render. So render lowercase capital A as normal and oh, see, he's playing black ops. Render as normal block with a capital B, 2 normal brackets, and then we put 2 curly brackets, and this basically says is should we render it as a normal block, and we're going to return this as false. Now this doesn't affect the transparency or anything. It basically just says that if a normal block renders so that there's like this slight shadow around the bottom, if you've got smooth lighting on, I think maybe on normal lighting, but on smooth lighting there's like a round shadow around the block. And this basically means that that's taken off. There's other stuff as well that gets taken away and modified, but that's the main thing, so that transparent block looks more believable. Now there's this last constructor we need to add, and let me try and explain this to you. But basically it's a constructor that says that when we look through the block from one side, does the block sides on the other sides of the block, do they get rendered in our view? And basically we're going to say that no, only the face that we're facing will. And that basically means that, like, if you get like a glass block and you place it down, you'll see that when you look through it from one side, the opposite sides and the sides that are in line of sight with you, but also in line of sight of the side you're facing, the sides that you're not directly facing, they won't be rendered. Now that might be a bit confusing, but let me show you how to do this. It's very important, and then I'll show you in game when I test this mod what this thing is I'm talking about. So to do this, we need to create a constructor called public boolean. This is gonna be very challenging for me to remember, but I think it's actually I'm sure it's public boolean should side be rendered, or case sensitive to how I did it. And then we've got to have 5 things inside these brackets. The first is something called iBlock access, and we're going to the variable that we're going to refer to this as in this constructor will be par1 iBlock access. And then we're going to the next 4 things that we need to put in here are integers. So we put int par2, int par3, int par4, and lastly int par5. And now we can start doing the code inside of this constructor. Now why we need this is basically it applies this should side be rendered to the block at certain coordinate. So it obviously does this multiple times for, like, if you have more than one of this block placed in one area, it will keep doing this code over and over to allow this side rendered thingy bob to work. And like I said before, I'm going to show you it visually when I test this mod how this works. But basically we're going to create an integer called, let's say, var6, so that we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 6, equals, and then we need to refer to it as iBlock access with this variable we created, so par1 iBlock access dot, and then there's a method inside of this class, iBlock access, called getBlockID, and then we change var1, var2, var3 to the first 3 integers we had here, so par2, par3, and par4. And this just basically sets var6 as the current block it's found at x, y, and z coordinates, which are all determined for us. Now, with this boolean, it not only means true and false, but it means that it needs to be a return statement. So we need to return something, but obviously because we want to say if it's this block, blah blah blah, then we're going to return it so that the sides that we're not facing should not be rendered. Otherwise, just render everything. So even though we don't need that otherwise render everything because this class doesn't need that, we have to put it in because we have to return an if or else. So we're going to put here if brackets, I'll just do it like that, and we're going to say if this block at this coordinate equals this block ID, we just have to put that for it to work. Curly brackets, and we put return false. So that just basically says that var6 will return it false. It sort of like tricks this if-else statement, because it basically just says if this is this block ID we've got the block ID from, it will return it false. So either way it will return it false, but obviously we need to put in this else statement, which I'll show you how to do it now. So even though this trickery is just avoided in need of an else statement, we have to put it in. It's a necessity. So we just put else, curly brackets, and we need to return super dot should side be rendered, and all of these integers and block access variables we had. So that just basically says var6 is going to be the coordinate of the block we currently want to call var6, and it's going to say if var6 is the block ID you're on about, it will return it false. If it isn't, which will never happen pretty much, else it will return this again. So that basically just loops it. So all of this is a necessity, but the main code is this, which basically says that do not render the sides we're not facing. So that's all the code now, so I can get on to doing the texture and then showing you that the mod works and showing you how this thing works. So now I've come over to Photoshop to show you how to create the texture. Basically I've got a 16 by 16 file. It's an alpha channel, so basically I've deleted everything in it, so there's nothing except for blankness. And then I've filled in just 3 blue bars to show the bar formation. But these gaps we see grey and white, that's just empty. It's got nothing filled into it whatsoever. And I've just saved this as a PNG with alpha channel enabled, which basically means that when I take this texture and I've put it inside Eclipse client bin, inside a folder called blue frame, and I've called it frame.png like I said in the code I would. If I open it, you can see that it's just got the bars, but where I've filled nothing in, it's just transparent. So that's the texture, so these transparent bits will actually be transparent in game. So that's the texture. I'm going to show you that the mod works, and that side rendered boolean thingamabob we did. I'll show you how that works as well. So now I'm going to show you that this mod works, and as you can see it does. So if you look at glass, we can see there's this side of the glass and it's see-through, but we can also see that the side opposite the glass and to the left of it, which is part of the same block, we cannot see. That's that should side be rendered boolean thing working, and as you can see that's been applied to our thingamabob, our blue frame block we've created, so we can see through it but we can't see the opposite sides to it. And that works because you can see it here again, you can see it like that, but that's also needed so that we can connect blocks like this and they don't look oddly connected, they look fine. And as you can see, that should render normal block as move the shadow, where with a normal block we can see like a slight shadow around this block. So that shows that our mod works. So thanks for watching this episode of Minecraft Money Guide. I'll be sure to have more episodes coming soon and some gaming coming soon. If you like this video, please like it. If you've got any more questions, put in the comment section below, and please subscribe to my channel as that supports me very, very much. Sorry about the lag again with Minecraft, like testing the mod. I'm trying to fix that. It's just some reason my computer just does not like Minecraft. It's powerful, it can play loads of good games, but for some reason with Minecraft it just lags a lot like that. So I'm still trying to sort that out. And also, all this code will be available for you to download, as well as a texture. And hopefully I'll be better soon and provide you with better, clearer tutorials and gaming. And hopefully I'll see you guys next video.